Commander Vexrel stood on the bridge of his warship and stared at the blue planet below. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he read the reports on his display screen. The humans had done it again. They had survived. "How is this possible?" he asked his second-in-command, a tall creature named Crix with scales that shimmered purple in the dim light. Crix shook his head slowly. "We cut off their water supply to the colony on Dust 7. We blocked every river and sealed every well. They should have died within 30 standard cycles." "But they did not die," Vexrel said. His voice was flat, but his anger was obvious. "Tell me what happened." Crix pulled up the recording on the main screen. The image showed the human colony on Dust 7, a dry world with red sand and orange skis. The humans had built their settlement near a mountain range, thinking the underground rivers would give them water forever. The Korvax Empire had found those rivers and blocked them with special chemicals that turned water into useless foam. "Watch here," Crix said, pointing at the screen. The recording showed humans walking around their colony. They looked tired and worried. Children sat in the shade while adults argued about what to do. Then one human, a woman with gray hair, walked to the edge of the colony where strange plants grew. These plants had fat leaves that stored moisture from the air. "She is looking at the desert succulents," Crix explained, "native plants that we ignored." On the screen, the old woman broke open one of the fat leaves. Water dripped out. She tasted it, then smiled. Within hours, the humans were collecting thousands of these plants. They built simple machines to squeeze the water out. They dug holes to collect morning dew. They even built towers with special cloth that pulled moisture from the air during the cool nights. "In 17 cycles, they had enough water to survive," Crix said. "They adapted." Vexrel turned away from the screen. His hands gripped the railing of his command platform so hard that his knuckles turned white. This was not the first time humans had surprised him. It was not even the 10th time. "Do you remember Frost 9? Vexrel asked quietly. "I remember," Crix said. Frost 9 had been a mining colony where humans dug precious metals from frozen ground. The Korvax had destroyed their heating systems, expecting the humans to freeze. Instead, the humans had burned their own equipment for warmth. When that ran out, they found hot springs deep underground. They moved their entire colony into caves near those springs and kept working their mines as if nothing had happened. "And the food shortage on Green Valley," Vexrel continued. Crix nodded. When the Korvax had destroyed the human farms on Green Valley, the humans had started eating insects. They had found that certain bugs were full of protein. They built insect farms that produced more food than their original crops. Now, insect food was shipped to other human colonies as a cheap and easy meal source. "Every time we attack them, they find a way," Vexrel said. "We have better weapons, we have stronger ships, we have technology they cannot match, but they keep finding solutions." Crix was quiet for a moment. "Should we try a direct assault? Our fleet could destroy their colonies from orbit." Vexrel shook his head. "The High Council has forbidden it. They say total destruction would unite the other species against us. We must defeat the humans slowly, make it look like they failed on their own." "Then what do we do?" Vexrel did not have an answer. He had been fighting humans for 20 standard years. In that time, he had learned one terrible truth. Human weapons were simple and crude compared to Korvax technology. Human ships were slow and fragile. Human soldiers were weak and died easily. But none of that mattered. What mattered was what happened inside human heads. When a human faced a problem, something strange happened in their brain. They did not give up. They did not accept defeat. Instead, they started thinking of ways to survive. And the solutions they found were never what the Korvax expected. Vexrel walked to his private chamber and sat down at his desk. On the wall hung a map of the galaxy with human colonies marked in red. There were 47 of them now, spread across 12 star systems. 20 years ago, there had been only 3 colonies. The humans were expanding even as the Korvax tried to stop them. He opened a file on his computer. It was a study of human history, prepared by Korvax scientists who had spent years learning about this strange species. Vexrel had read it many times, but he read it again now. Humans had evolved on a dangerous world. Their planet had extreme temperatures, violent storms, deadly animals, and diseases that killed millions. They had survived all of it. More than survived, they had conquered their world and then reached for the stars. The study noted that humans had a strange quality called stubbornness. This was the refusal to accept that something was impossible. When a human was told they could not do something, they often worked harder to prove the speaker wrong. Another quality was creativity. Humans could look at a problem and imagine many different solutions. They could combine ideas in new ways. They could see uses for things that no one had intended. The most dangerous quality was hope. Even when everything seemed lost, humans believed that things could get better. This hope gave them strength to keep fighting when any sensible species would surrender. Vexrel closed the file and stared at the ceiling. His species, the Korvax, were logical and efficient. They had conquered dozens of worlds using superior technology and careful planning. But humans did not fight the way the Korvax expected. Humans did not follow logical patterns. They did strange, unexpected things that somehow worked. A message appeared on his screen. It was from the High Council, asking for his report on the Dust 7 operation. Vexrel began to type, but the words came slowly. How could he explain that the operation had failed because humans had squeezed water from plants? The council would think he was making excuses. He deleted his draft and started again. This time he wrote the truth. The Dust 7 operation has failed. The humans have adapted to the water shortage by using native plants and atmospheric moisture collection. I recommend we study this adaptation and prepare for similar solutions in future operations. However, I must report a concerning pattern. In every operation against human colonies over the past 20 years, the humans have found ways to survive that we did not predict. I believe this adaptation ability is more dangerous than any weapon they possess. We may need to change our entire approach to the human problem. Vexrel sent the message and waited. The response came within an hour. Commander Vexrel, your concerns are noted. You are ordered to report to Korvax Prime for a special meeting with the Strategic Council. Bring all your records on human adaptation. This matter will be discussed at the highest levels. Vexrel felt a chill run through his body. The Strategic Council only met for the most serious threats to the Empire. In his entire career, he had never been called before them. The humans had finally gotten the attention of the most powerful Korvax in the galaxy. As his ship jumped to faster-than-light speed toward the home world, Vexrel wondered what the Council would decide. Would they approve total destruction of human colonies despite the political cost? Would they try some new strategy? Or would they finally admit what Vexrel had known for years, that humans were a problem that could not be solved with weapons alone? The stars blurred into streaks of light outside his window. Somewhere out there, on 47 worlds, humans were waking up and going to work, raising their children and dreaming of the future. They did not know that the Korvax Empire was meeting to decide their fate. But Vexrel knew, with a cold certainty in his heart, that whatever the Council decided, the humans would find a way to survive it. They always did. The journey to Korvax Prime took 3 days. Vexrel spent most of that time in his cabin, reviewing data and thinking about what he would say to the Council. He had never been good at politics. He was a soldier, trained to fight and destroy. But this was not a problem that could be solved with weapons. His second-in-command, Crix, came to see him on the 2nd day. "Commander, may I speak freely?" Crix asked. "Always," Vexrel said. "I have been studying the human files as you ordered. I found something interesting." Crix sat down across from Vexrel. Humans have a concept they call necessity is the mother of invention. It means that they create new things when they need to. Vexrel nodded. I have heard this phrase. But there is more to it, Crix continued. Humans do not just invent when they need to, they enjoy it. Creating new things gives them pleasure. Solving problems makes them happy. It is not just survival for them, it is fun. Vexrel considered this. The Korvax did not create things for fun. They created things that were needed and only what was needed. Anything else was wasteful and illogical. This may explain why they adapt so quickly, Vexrel said. They are motivated by more than just survival. Yes, Commander, and I believe this makes them even more dangerous than we thought. Vexrel agreed. A species that adapted only for survival could be predicted. A species that adapted for pleasure was unpredictable. They would create solutions to problems that did not even exist yet. The Strategic Council chamber was the largest room Vexrel had ever entered. It was carved from black stone that absorbed light, making the space feel endless and dark. 12 ancient Korvax sat at a curved table, their eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. These were the rulers of an empire that spanned 1,000 worlds. Vexrel stood in the center of the room, feeling very small. A light shone down on him from above, leaving him exposed while the council members remained hidden in darkness. Commander Vexrel, said the eldest council member, a female named Sixner whose scales had faded to gray with age. You have requested this meeting to discuss the human threat. Speak. Vexrel activated his portable display and began his presentation. He showed the council everything, every failed operation, every human adaptation, every surprising solution the humans had found. He showed them Dust 7 and the water plants. He showed them Frost 9 and the hot spring caves. He showed them Green Valley and the insect farms. He showed them a dozen other examples, each one demonstrating the same pattern. In every case, Vexrel said, we targeted a weakness in human colonies. In every case, they found a solution we did not expect. Our analysts predicted that cutting water to Dust 7 would cause colony failure within 30 cycles. The humans solved the problem in 17 cycles. Our analysts predicted that destroying heating systems on Frost 9 would cause mass death within 10 cycles. The humans found alternative heat sources within 3 cycles. He paused and looked at the shadowy figures of the council. I have spent 20 years studying humans. I have led dozens of operations against them, and I have reached a conclusion that I must share with this council, even though it is not what you want to hear. Continue, Sixner said. Human weapons are inferior to ours. Human ships are slower and weaker. Human soldiers are physically fragile. If we fought them in open battle, we would win easily. But we cannot fight them in open battle because of political concerns with other species. And as long as we fight them indirectly, they will keep winning. A younger council member leaned forward. Explain. When we attack human weaknesses, we give them problems to solve. And solving problems is what humans do best. Every attack makes them stronger because they adapt. They learn. They find new ways to survive. In 20 years, they have expanded from 3 colonies to 47, despite everything we have done to stop them. Vexrel took a deep breath. I believe that if we continue our current strategy, humans will eventually become the dominant species in this region of space. Not because they are stronger than us, but because they are more adaptable. The council chamber was silent. Vexrel could feel their eyes on him, judging his words. Finally, Sixner spoke. You suggest that we stop attacking human weaknesses. What would you have us do instead? I do not know, Vexrel admitted. That is why I asked for this meeting. I have fought humans my entire career. I know how dangerous they are, but I do not know how to defeat them. Another council member, a male named Drexel, spoke from the shadows. Perhaps the answer is to not give them problems to solve. Perhaps we should give them comfort instead. Vexrel frowned. I do not understand. Think about it, Drexel said. Humans adapt when they face challenges. They become stronger through struggle. But what happens when they have no struggle? What happens when life is easy? Sixner nodded slowly. You suggest we make human life comfortable, give them what they want, let them grow soft and lazy. Exactly, Drexel said. Stop attacking their colonies. Start trading with them instead. Give them technology and resources. Let them become dependent on us. In a few generations, they will forget how to adapt. They will lose the very quality that makes them dangerous. Vexrel considered this idea. It was clever, he had to admit, but something about it felt wrong. There is a problem with this plan, he said. Humans have a long memory. They remember what we have done to their colonies. They will not trust us. Then we must be patient, Drexel replied. We must work over generations. We must slowly change their view of us from enemy to friend. The council discussed this idea for many hours. Vexrel listened and added his thoughts when asked. By the end of the meeting, they had developed a new strategy. They would stop all attacks on human colonies immediately. They would offer peace treaties and trade agreements. They would share some of their technology with humans, making human life easier. They would become friendly neighbors instead of hidden enemies. And they would wait. This plan will take 100 years, Sixner said. Perhaps longer, but the Korvax have time. We have ruled this region of space for 10,000 years. We can wait 100 more to deal with the human threat. Vexrel was ordered to lead the first diplomatic mission to human space. It was a task he did not want, but he could not refuse the council. As he left the chamber, Drexel walked beside him. You seem unhappy, Commander, Drexel said. I am uncertain, Vexrel replied. I have fought humans for 20 years. Now I must make peace with them. It feels wrong. Perhaps you will learn to see them differently, Drexel said. Perhaps you will find that they are not so dangerous when they are not struggling. Vexrel said nothing. In his heart, he had a dark feeling that the council was making a mistake. Humans were not like other species. They did not become weak when life was easy. They became bored, and bored humans looked for new challenges. But Vexrel kept these thoughts to himself. The council had made its decision. He would follow orders. His ship left Korvax Prime the next morning, heading for human space. In the cargo hold were gifts for the human leaders, technology and rare materials and promises of peace. In Vexrel's mind were doubts that would not go away. The first human world he visited was called New Earth. It was a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green forests, much like the human home world. The colony had been established 50 years ago and now held 2 million humans. Vexrel landed his ship at the main city and was met by human officials. They were suspicious at first, which he expected. But when he showed them the gifts and explained the council's offer of peace, their suspicion turned to surprise. You want peace? Asked the colony governor, a tall woman named Sarah Chen. After 20 years of sabotage and attacks. The Korvax Empire has reconsidered its position, Vexrel said, using the words the council had given him. We believe that cooperation is better than conflict. We offer technology, trade, and friendship. Governor Chen studied him with narrow eyes. What do you want in return? Only peace, Vexrel said. We ask for nothing. The governor did not believe him. Vexrel could see it in her face. But she accepted the gifts and agreed to discuss trade agreements. Other human colonies gave similar responses, suspicious but willing to talk. Over the next 5 years, the Korvax plan seemed to be working. Trade between the two species increased. Korvax technology made human life easier. Human colonies grew faster with Korvax help, and slowly the old anger began to fade. Vexrel watched all of this with growing unease. Something was wrong, but he could not identify it. The humans were accepting Korvax help, just as the council had predicted. But they were not becoming soft and lazy, as Drexel had hoped. Instead, they were using Korvax technology in ways that Korvax had never imagined. They combined it with their own ideas to create new things. They adapted it for purposes the Korvax had never intended. And they kept expanding. In 5 years, human colonies grew from 47 to 63. Vexrel sent a report to the council expressing his concerns. The response was dismissive. "The plan is working," Sixner wrote. "Human aggression toward us has decreased by 70%. Trade is profitable for both sides. Continue your work and stop worrying." But Vexrel could not stop worrying. He had spent too many years studying humans. He knew what they were capable of. And he knew that giving them gifts and technology was like giving fuel to a fire. The humans were not growing weak. They were growing stronger. In a small cafe on New Earth, Vexrel sat with a human engineer named James Park. They had met during a trade negotiation and had become regular conversation partners. James was curious about Korvax technology, and Vexrel was curious about human thinking. "Can I show you something?" James asked, pulling out a small device from his pocket. Vexrel examined it. "This is a Korvax communication unit. We gave these to your colonies 3 years ago." "Look closer," James said with a smile. Vexrel looked. The device was the same size and shape as a standard Korvax communicator, but inside everything had changed. The circuits were arranged differently. New components had been added. The power system was completely redesigned. "What did you do to it?" Vexrel asked. "We made it better," James said proudly. "The original could send messages up to 100 light years. This one can reach 500. It also uses half the power and is twice as clear." Vexrel stared at the device. Korvax engineers had worked for centuries to optimize the communicator design. They had believed it was as good as it could get, and this human had improved it in 3 years. "How?" Vexrel asked. "How did you know what to change?" James shrugged. "I just looked at it and wondered why it was built that way. Then I thought about how it could be different, that's all." That simple answer chilled Vexrel to his core. "That's all" was the most dangerous phrase he had ever heard. 10 years passed since the start of the peace program. Vexrel was now old for his species, his scales fatting to gray like Sixner's had been. He had spent those years traveling between human worlds, managing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. He had learned to speak the human language. He had learned their customs and their history. He had even made friends among them, something he never expected. But he had also watched them carefully, and what he saw frightened him. The human colony on New Earth had doubled in size. The other colonies had grown even faster. Human ships, once slow and fragile, now traveled almost as fast as Korvax vessels. Human factories produced goods that were sold throughout the galaxy. Human scientists were making discoveries that surprised even Korvax researchers. And everywhere Vexrel went, he saw the same thing. Humans taking Korvax technology and making it better. On the manufacturing world of Steelheart, humans had taken Korvax mining machines and improved them to dig twice as deep in half the time. On the agricultural world of Green Valley, they had combined Korvax growing techniques with their own insect farming to produce food more efficiently than anyone thought possible. On the research station at Bright Star, human scientists were using Korvax computers to make calculations that Korvax mathematicians had said were impossible. Vexrel documented all of this and sent reports to the council. The responses were always the same. Human progress benefits trade. Continue the peace program. But Vexrel knew the truth. Human progress was not just about trade. It was about something deeper, something the council did not understand. Humans were not adapting to survive anymore. They were adapting to grow. Every piece of technology they received, every idea they encountered, became a building block for something new. They were not content to simply use what they were given. They had to improve it, change it, make it their own. One evening, Vexrel sat with Governor Chen on the balcony of her office, watching the sun set over New Earth's capital city. They had become unlikely friends over the years, two old warriors who had once been enemies. "Can I ask you something?" Vexrel said. "Of course," Chen replied. "Why do humans always change things? Why can you not accept something as it is?" Chen laughed softly. "That's a strange question from someone whose species tried to destroy us for 20 years. "I am serious," Vexrel said. "The Korvax have used the same technology for thousands of years. It works, so we do not change it. But humans change everything, even when it already works. Why?" Chen thought about this for a long moment. "I think it's because we're curious," she said finally. "We see something and we wonder, what if it could be different? What if it could be better? We can't help ourselves. It's just how we think." "But change is dangerous," Vexrel said. "Change leads to unknown outcomes." "True," Chen agreed. "But change also leads to progress, to new possibilities, to things no one ever imagined." She smiled at him. "You know, when I was young, I thought the Korvax were the most advanced species in the galaxy. Your technology seemed like magic to us, but now we're catching up, and in some areas we've passed you." Vexrel nodded slowly. "I have noticed." "Does that frighten you?" He was quiet for a moment. "Yes," he admitted, "it does." Chen looked at him with something like sympathy. "I understand. Change is hard to accept, especially when you're used to being the most powerful. But Vexrel, we don't want to replace you. We just want to be your equals." "And what happens when you surpass us?" Vexrel asked. "What happens when humans are the most powerful species in the galaxy?" Chen shrugged. "I don't know. I probably won't live to see it, but I hope we'll be kind. I hope we'll remember what it was like to be the weaker ones and treat others the way we wanted to be treated." Vexrel said nothing. He had spent too many years watching humans to be comforted by hopes. He knew that power changed people. It changed species, and humans were gaining power faster than anyone had predicted. That night he wrote a final report to the council. He told them everything he had observed. He told them about human ships and factories and scientists. He told them about the conversation with Governor Chen, and he told them his conclusion. The peace program has failed, not because humans rejected peace, but because they accepted it too well. We gave them technology to make them comfortable, but instead it made them stronger. We tried to remove their need to adapt, but instead we gave them new things to adapt to. In 10 years, humans have advanced more than they did in the previous 100. If this continues, they will surpass us within a generation." He paused, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then he wrote his final words. "I recommend immediate termination of the peace program. I recommend return to containment strategy, but I must warn the council, it may already be too late. Humans have learned too much from us. They have grown too strong. Whatever we do now, we cannot undo what has been done. The galaxy has changed, and we have changed it." Vexrel sent the report and waited. The response came 3 days later. It was not from Sixner, who had died of old age 2 years ago. It was from Drexel, who now led the Strategic Council. "Commander Vexrel, your report has been reviewed and rejected. The peace program will continue. Human progress benefits the Empire through trade revenue. Your concerns are noted but considered exaggerated. You are relieved of your diplomatic duties and ordered to retire. Thank you for your service." Vexrel read the message 3 times, then he laughed bitterly. The council did not understand. They could not understand. They had ruled the galaxy for so long that they could not imagine losing that rule. They saw human progress as an opportunity, not a threat. They thought they could control humans the way they controlled other species. But Vexrel knew better. He had spent 30 years studying humans. He had watched them adapt and grow and change. He had seen the fire in their eyes when they solved problems and created new things. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that the Korvax Empire had made the greatest mistake in its history. They had not defeated the humans, by making them comfortable. They had educated them. Vexrel stood at his window, watching ships pass by in the dark sky. Human ships and Korvax ships flying side by side. The trade routes were busy now, busier than they had ever been, and most of the cargo was human-made. He remembered a phrase from the human history files. Give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. The Korvax had not just given humans fish. They had given them fishing boats, fishing nets, and maps of every ocean, and the humans had used those tools to build a fishing empire. His personal communication device buzzed. A message from an old friend on Dust 7, the colony where it had all started. Commander Vexrel, you will not believe what we have done. Remember the water plants that saved us. We have bred new versions that grow 10 times faster. We are now selling water to 3 other systems. The desert that almost killed us has become our greatest resource. Vexrel read the message 3 times. Then he laughed, a bitter sound in his empty room. The Korvax had tried to kill the humans with drought. 25 years later, those same humans were exporting water to the galaxy. This was the human way. Every attack became an opportunity. Every weakness became a strength. Every problem became a solution waiting to be discovered. 20 more years passed. Vexrel, now ancient and frail, lived in a small house on a quiet moon far from the centers of power. He spent his days reading reports from across the galaxy, watching the changes he had predicted unfold. Human colonies now numbered over 200. Human ships were faster than Korvax ships. Human technology was equal to Korvax technology in most areas and superior in some. Human goods were sold throughout the galaxy, often cheaper and better than Korvax alternatives. And humans kept adapting. When a disease swept through human colonies, they developed a cure in 3 months that Korvax scientists said would take 3 years. When a star in human space began to die, they moved 2 entire planets to safety, something no other species had ever done. When pirates from the outer regions attacked human trade ships, the humans built new weapons that ended the threat in a single battle. Every problem that arose, humans solved. Every challenge they faced, they overcame. And with each solution, they grew stronger. The Korvax Empire watched this with growing alarm. Drexel, now old himself, finally understood what Vexrel had tried to tell him years ago. He sent messages to Vexrel asking for advice, but Vexrel had no advice to give. I told you 30 years ago, Vexrel wrote back. I told you that humans adapt. I told you that giving them technology would make them stronger. You did not listen. Now it is too late. The council met in emergency sessions. They discussed returning to the old strategy of sabotage and attack, but they quickly realized it was impossible. Human defenses were too strong. Human technology was too advanced. Any attack would fail, and the failure would unite humans against the Empire. Some council members suggested making an alliance with humans as equals, but others refused, saying the Korvax could not lower themselves to equal status with a younger species. The arguments went on for months while humans continued to grow stronger. Finally, the council made a decision. They would send a delegation to the human capital to propose a new treaty. Not an alliance of equals exactly, but a partnership. The Korvax would share their remaining secrets with humans. In return, humans would help the Korvax with problems they could not solve alone. Drexel sent a message to Vexrel asking him to lead the delegation. You know humans better than anyone, the message said. You are our best hope. Vexrel wanted to refuse. He was old and tired and had lost faith in the council long ago, but something in him could not say no. He had spent his entire life trying to understand humans. Perhaps this was his final chance to do something useful with that understanding. He traveled to the human capital on New Earth. The city had grown enormous, with towers that reached into the clouds and vehicles that flew through the air. Humans walked the streets in vast numbers, moving with purpose and energy. They looked nothing like the struggling colonists he had first encountered 40 years ago. Governor Chen was long dead, but her granddaughter held the same office. Her name was Maya Chen, and she met Vexrel at the entrance to the government building. "Commander Vexrel," she said, using his old title as a sign of respect. "I've heard stories about you my whole life. My grandmother spoke of you often." "Your grandmother was a wise woman," Vexrel said. "I learned much from her." Maya smiled. "She said the same thing about you." They walked together through the building to a meeting room where human leaders had gathered. Vexrel looked at them, young and old, male and female, from dozens of different colonies. They watched him with curious eyes, showing neither fear nor hatred. "I have come with an offer from the Korvax Empire," Vexrel said. "We wish to propose a partnership." He explained the council's offer. The humans listened without interrupting. When he finished, Maya looked at the other leaders, then back at Vexrel. "Can I speak honestly?" she asked. "Please." 40 years ago, your people tried to destroy us. 20 years ago, you tried to make us weak by giving us technology. Now you come offering partnership." She paused. "What changed?" Vexrel was quiet for a long moment. Then he told them the truth. "You did," he said. "You changed everything. The Korvax ruled this region of space for 10,000 years. We thought we were the greatest species in the galaxy, but we were wrong. We were powerful because we had good technology. But you are powerful because of what you are." He looked at the human faces around the table. "I have spent 40 years studying your species. I have watched you face every challenge we created. I have seen you adapt to things that would have destroyed any other species. And I have finally understood what makes you dangerous." "What's that?" Maya asked. "Solutions," Vexrel said simply. "When other species face problems, they accept them or die. When humans face problems, solutions appear, not from luck, not from magic, from inside your minds. You look at what seems impossible and you imagine ways to make it possible. That ability, that endless creativity, is more powerful than any weapon." He stood up straighter, despite his old bones aching. "The Korvax Empire does not offer partnership because we want to. We offer it because we have no choice. You have grown too strong to fight. You have grown too fast to contain. The only option left is to join you or be left behind." The room was silent. Then Maya Chen did something Vexrel did not expect. She laughed. Not a cruel laugh or a mocking laugh. A warm laugh like her grandmother's. "Commander," she said, "do you know what my grandmother always said about you? She said you were the only Korvax who ever really understood humans. I think she was right." She stood and walked to where Vexrel stood. "We accept your partnership, not because we need to, but because we want to. The galaxy is big enough for all of us. Humans don't want to replace the Korvax. We want to work with you, learn from you, grow together." "Even after everything we did to you?" Vexrel asked. Maya nodded. "Especially after that. You taught us something valuable even if you didn't mean to. You taught us that we can survive anything. You made us stronger by trying to make us weaker. In a strange way, we should thank you." Vexrel felt something he had not felt in many years. It took him a moment to recognize it. Hope. The partnership treaty was signed a month later. Korvax and humans began working together on projects that neither species could accomplish alone. They built ships that traveled faster than light in ways thought impossible. They cured diseases that had plagued both species for centuries. They explored parts of the galaxy that no one had ever visited. And everywhere they went, they faced problems, and everywhere solutions appeared. Vexrel lived to see the first joint colony, built on a world so hostile that neither species could have survived alone. Korvax technology and human adaptation worked together to transform a deadly planet into a garden. On the day the colony was declared successful, Vexrel stood on a hill overlooking the new city. Korvax and humans walked the streets together, talking and laughing and working side by side. Children of both species played in parks built with combined knowledge. Maya Chen stood beside him, now middle-aged but still strong. "You seem happy," she said. "I am," Vexrel admitted. "I spent my life trying to defeat humans. I thought your adaptation was a threat that needed to be stopped. I was wrong." "What changed your mind?" Vexrel looked at the city below, at the impossible thing that two species had built together. "I realized that adaptation is not something to fear," he said. "It is something to join. The galaxy is full of problems. No one species can solve them all, but together we can solve anything." Maya smiled. "Solutions appear." "Yes," Vexrel said, "they always do." He watched the sun set over the new colony, painting the sky in colors he had never seen before. Somewhere in the city, Korvax and human scientists were working on the next problem, and somewhere in their minds, solutions were already appearing. The Korvax had feared human adaptation for 40 years. They had tried to stop it, contain it, use it against itself. All of those strategies had failed. In the end, the only winning strategy was the simplest one of all. If you cannot beat them, join them. And if you join them, you become part of their endless capacity for growth. You become part of the solutions that appear when problems arise. You become part of something bigger than any single species could ever be alone. Vexrel had spent his life as a warrior. He had ended it as a bridge between two peoples. And as he watched the stars come out over the new world, he knew that this was a better victory than any battle could have given him. The galaxy was changing. Humans were changing it. But the Korvax were changing too, learning to adapt in their own way. Together, they would face whatever challenges the universe held. And together, they would find solutions. They always would. Because that was what humans did. And now, it was what the Korvax were learning to do too. In the months after the partnership was signed, Vexrel saw changes he never expected. Young Korvax began visiting human colonies to study their ways of thinking. Human teachers came to Korvax schools to share their creative methods. Slowly, the rigid Korvax mind began to bend, to consider new possibilities. Not all Korvax accepted the change. Some held onto the old ways, insisting that the Empire had made a mistake. They called the partnership a surrender and refused to participate. But their numbers grew smaller each year as the benefits of cooperation became clear. Vexrel visited one of the joint research stations where Korvax and humans worked together on new energy systems. He watched a young Korvax named Trixner working beside a human named Dr. Lisa Chen, a distant relative of the governor. They were arguing about the best way to contain a new power source. "The containment field must be perfect," Trixner said. "Any flaw could cause a disaster." "But perfect takes too long," Lisa replied. "We need good enough now and we can improve it later." Vexrel smiled. This was the essential difference between the species. Korvax wanted perfect solutions. Humans wanted working solutions that could be made better over time. Neither approach was wrong. Together, they were finding a balance. "What have you discovered?" Vexrel asked them. Trixner showed him the plans. The power system combined Korvax precision with human adaptability. It would generate more energy than anything either species had built alone, and it could be upgraded as new ideas appeared. "When will it be ready?" Vexrel asked. 3 months, Lisa said, then she laughed. "Or 6, or 12, we keep having new ideas that make it better. It's hard to stop improving." That was the human curse and the human gift. They could never stop improving. They could never accept that something was finished. There was always another idea, another possibility, another solution waiting to be found. The future was uncertain, full of unknown problems and unexpected dangers, but Vexrel was no longer afraid. He had seen what humans could do when they faced the impossible. And now he was on their side. Solutions would appear. They always did.